Welcome to the session on critical reasoning, guys. Before we get started, let me just quickly check. Let me just quickly check if the audio and visual and everything is working fine, and just set up. I'll just set up my phone here so that I know that everything is in line. Yes, I think it's working fine, and all right, perfect. So let's get started with this session and. Okay. So, all right, the visibility is perfect, I guess. There's nothing wrong with the visibility. I think the only part that is not visible here is on the right bottom of the screen, which just says that the session is being taken by me. That is Anupam Mishra from Lucknow. And okay, so that's start, guys. It's a half an hour session. So, देखो, critical reasoning in starting from today. Uh, we'll be continuing this topic for 3 days, including today's day, right? And every day we'll have a session for a half an hour session at the same time from 3 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. So today is Sunday, right? Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, right? So and in these 90 minutes spread over these 3 days, we'll try to touch upon all the important aspects of critical reasoning, which can be useful in helping you get oriented towards solving critical reasoning question types. Okay, so that's the plan, and the agenda is right here in front of your screen, as you can see. Nitin is here. Hi, Nitin. How are you? So, we have the agenda here, and see what I've done here is I've mainly divided the agenda into three parts, and the first part is where we shall be, and then first part is something that is very crucial to critical reasoning questions, although it doesn't seem to have any a very direct impact on one's ability to address to answer critical reasoning questions, but at the same time, but nevertheless, it does help oneself orient themselves properly when it comes to understanding critical reasoning questions and knowing what to look for, what you should be trying to spot. And okay, a discussion on logical fallacies. So the first thing we'll be starting with will be a discussion on logical fallacies, as I've mentioned here. The 7 major types of logical fallacies is what we shall be discussing first. Once we're done with this, once we're done with the logical fallacies, we'll move on to the second part of your topic, which will be the elements of an argument. And this is also something quite essential and can be pretty useful when it comes to learners. Okay, so it can be quite useful, and when it comes to solving or understanding or getting oriented towards your critical reasoning questions. So that's the second part, and finally we will look at, well, I shouldn't say types, we'll just be looking at some critical reasoning questions. Okay, so because I'll tell you what, when it comes to XAT, and then this course is specifically for XAT, so it is not very easy to classify your critical reasoning questions into proper types which are well defined silos, right? You understand what a silo is. So it's difficult to do that. As far as CAT is concerned, CAT में आसान होता है. CAT में you have either you'll be asked to strengthen the argument or weaken the argument, or I don't know what can be inferred from the argument, what is the logic. Maybe there might be some contextual question. That's it. But so it's easy to classify. There's not a lot of variation when it comes to CAT. When it comes to XAT, there is a lot of versatility that you can observe for critical reasoning questions. Okay, so that's why the idea is that we go through many question types, as many as we can, to try and get a proper sense of what kind of questions you might be expecting yours at. Okay, so that's that. Next, so this was going to be your day one, which we'll be doing today. This will be your day two, and this, as well as a little bit of types of critical reasoning questions, will be day two, and day three will be completely about practicing critical reasoning questions. Okay, so that's how we're gonna roll. Let's start with the major types of logical fallacies. So guys, it's a very short session, so I'm gonna have to be a little brief so far as all of these these errors are concerned. So okay, so please, just in case you're not able to understand something in between, just point it out in the comment section. I have the live stream of the video in front of me, so although there is a slight lag in that, but I still be able to figure out if there is any comment, so I'll be able to address that. Okay, so otherwise I'll have to rush a little because there is a lot of ground to cover, and we have, well, now we have just hardly 22 minutes remaining. Okay, so let's start. The very first type of logical fallacy that the first category of logical fallacy has two types of fallacies in it. One is ad populum and the other is ad verecundiam. Ad populum, yes, Nitin, we'll talk about XAT 2020. Yes, uh, the session is mainly related to your critical reasoning. So we'll be doing a little bit of theory first, and once हमारा थोड़ा theory हो जाए उसके बाद फिर हम लोग XAT 2020 के मैंने I've already made verbal ability orientation videos for XAT 2020 on YouTube itself, so you can check them out. Okay, so so 7 major types of logical fallacies, but the first category is in which you have these two types of logical fallacies, which is ad populum and ad verecundiam. Ad populum is essentially what you have on your screen. So populum is the simplest type of, is the most crudest type of logical fallacy that you can think of, and it's basically nothing but your argument by majority. The essence of this argument is this fallacy is that it just assumes that whatever the majority is saying has to be correct. Okay, just because a large number of people are saying something or agree with something or believe in something, it has to be true. That's the essence of your of the logical fallacy that we have titled as ad populum. Okay, ये आपका ad populum हो गया. So basically the idea that you hear, right, a lot of times people saying that okay, चार लोग क्या कहेंगे, चार आदमी क्या कहेंगे. At the core of that argument is basically the ad populum fallacy. Okay, argument by majority. Okay, I've given some other examples here. यहाँ पे मैंने और भी examples दे रखे हैं. If you can go through if you want to go through them. Okay, but because of the lack of time, because we do not have much time available, that's why I'm not going into these examples right away. Okay, so all right, so let's go to the second one. Now the first one, for the first in the fallacy type 1, the first fallacy is ad populum. In the same fallacy type 2, in the first category itself, you have the second type of fallacy, which I call ad verecundiam. Okay, ad verecundiam basically, guys, is a type of fallacy which, so the first fallacy was banking on majority for its argument. The second fallacy banks on authority for its argument. Okay, you're not able to see this creative, right? Let me just move around this what do you say, this the window here, so that you can see this. Okay, I'm just gonna put this, I guess I'll put it here at the top. Okay, if you don't mind. So all right, that should make things better visible for you. All right. Okay, so see, if you, the example that I've taken here is that of this ad that you can see right here, which says so this is the ad of a brand of cigarettes called Camel cigarettes, and right, so you can see what the ad goes like. It goes something like, more doctors smoke Camels than any other cigarette, right? So what exactly is the idea behind, like why is this expected to, why do we have doctors here? Why do you think we have doctors here? Why do you think we do not have I don't know, teachers, or maybe more there's a reason why they have included, why they have used doctors here, right? But they have not included any other profession. And the reason is because smoking or cigarette is mainly related to the worst thing about cigarette is the health concern, right? The health concerns that it creates. And when you put out an ad which says that more doctors smoke cigarettes, smoke Camels than any other cigarette, basically you're projecting an argument by authority. So because doctors are kind of an authority in the arena of health and medical facilities, right? When it comes to medical facilities and health, doctors are considered to have an authority. And if you have someone from a position of authority talking about putting forth some point, people are not really gonna question the validity of that argument, right? Because they're gonna assume, okay, this guy is an authority in that area, so probably maybe what he's saying is right, which is not necessarily the case, right? So that's exactly what we're trying to say here. So that's why it's a logical fallacy. An argument, guys, is needs to be examined independently in isolation, without without say giving any attributing any special value to from where to the person from which it is coming, or to the number of people from who believe in that argument. Okay, so that's your argument by authority. That's the first. So we have done the first type here. The first type we have done here. Now let's look at the second type of argument. Okay, all right. This is the first one. The Adpopulum and ad varicandum. We're done with the first type. Let's look at the second type, which is called ad hominem. Okay, ad hominem, guys, is basically, so hominem comes from the same root from which you have the word Homo sapiens, and that homo is basically stands for humans, right? So when you say ad hominem, you're essentially, what you mean to say here is that instead of targeting the argument or the logic that the other person has used to put forth his point, to propose his point, to make his proposition, what you're instead doing is, what you instead plan to do is, or do is, actually go on and do is, uh, target the person itself. Instead of targeting the audience, you're targeting the person himself, which is not logical. Which is not logical, right? Because it's not a personal issue. It's not a personal fight. It's basically you're talking about an argument about a topic, and hence all the discussion should be directed towards the same. Unless, of course, there's a very special relevance with that topic, of the topic, with the person who has made that argument, and it becomes at most necessary and extremely relevant to mention, to drag that person personally into that argument. But usually that's not the case, right? And hence ad hominem is considered a logical fallacy, which means ad hominem means nothing but argument by personal attack. Argument by personal attack, right? When you don't target the argument, you target the person who's making the argument. You make fun of them, or maybe do something on those lines. It's something that is very common, and name calling, etc. can be some examples. Okay, so that's ad hominem for you. Next we have in line, what we have in line are fallacies of causation, and these are like really interesting. They are quite interesting. Okay, so let's and there are two of them. The first one is called correlation versus causation. Correlation versus causation. Alright, so what is correlation versus causation? The first type of causation fallacy, which I've termed as correlation versus causation, what happens here is, you have two variables, the values of which you observe, and you end up observing that whenever the value of this particular variable goes up, the value of this variable also goes up. Okay, and accordingly, it seems like there is some sort of proportionality here. So you're able to establish some correlation between the two parameters, between the two values. Okay, that whenever this goes up, this also goes up by a certain value. When this comes down, this also comes down by a certain value. Okay, now if inferring from this correlation, you go inferring from this variation, this simultaneous variation of these two variables, you go on one step ahead, and you actually go on and infer, and you try to propose that it is that this particular value is going up because this value is going up, and it is coming down because this value is coming down, right? So basically the first event or variable is causing all the changes that are being caused in the second variable or event, right? So what you have done here is essentially you have confused correlation with causation. Correlation doesn't necessarily have to mean causation. Okay, it just be that there might be some other reasons. It does happen to be that these two values keep going up and down, going up and down just because of correlation. There might not necessarily be any causation involved here. A good example here was like this. So it was found that it was once found that in a city in some country, I don't recall which exactly, but in a particular city, whenever the sales of ice creams would go up, the number of thefts in the neighborhood will also increase. Then yes, Sekat. Good afternoon, Rajat. How are you? Good afternoon, Sekat. Sekat, what we'll be doing here, Sekat, हमारा plan यहाँ पे ऐसा है. But the plan, Sekat has asked a question here, so I'm answering that, guys. I'm going to take a moment to answer that. Just I hope that's okay. So what the plan here is that today we'll be doing these fallacies. Tomorrow we'll do some theory and some XAT questions at the same time, 3 to 3:30, and day after tomorrow we'll do completely only critical reasoning questions. That's it. Okay. So that's the plan. Good afternoon, Arman. How are you? ठीक है, तो अभी हम लोग बस थोड़ा सा थियरी कर रहे हैं, कल से हम लोग सवाल उठा लेंगे सारे. We'll start taking up questions from tomorrow. Okay. All right. So let's come back. So it was found that whenever the sales of ice creams would go up, the number of thefts in the cities, in the neighborhood will also go up. Okay, so there was some correlation found between the number of ice creams being sold and the number of thefts that occurred in the city. Okay, now what happened was what was actually happening here was, and of course, now this obviously it would be very absurd to infer from this that it's basically whenever people go out to buy ice creams, it's exactly then that thieves, thieves actually go on and start stealing stuff. Or another absurd explanation could be that whenever people get ice creams in their homes, the thieves are like really ice cream hungry and they start robbing the homes that have a lot of ice creams. That doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't make sense. So exactly. So what exactly was later on, like on further research, what was found was that it was the ice cream sales would usually go up during the summer season. Okay, during the summers, the ice cream sales would usually go up, right? And the summers also you happen to be a time when the children in the neighborhood will have vacations. Okay, the summers also happen to be a time when the children in the neighborhood will have vacations, and as a result, their families would usually go on some sort of tour, because otherwise the whole year round they won't really get a chance to go to a tour, right? So that was the scenario, right? So just a second. Yeah. So it was during summers that the ice cream sales would go up, and during summers most of the families in the neighborhood will go for vacations, and as a result of which the neighborhood will generally be empty and would not have a lot of people there, and which would encourage the thieves to go for more thefts and in the neighborhood, right? We should encourage more thefts in the neighborhood, because there's not a lot of people who are there to monitor the properties, right? So as a result of this, during summers ice cream sales will go up. At the same time, the number of thefts in the neighborhood will also go up. Okay, and this actually made it seem that it was because of the ice cream sales that the number of thefts were going up, which was not really the case. It was they both of these actually had a different cause, a different independent cause. Okay, so that's how one can confuse sometimes correlation with causation. Okay, I hope you guys understood, right? So correlation should not always be considered due to causation. All right, so let's go to the next one now. The second type of causation fallacy, guys. This is the first type of causation fallacy, and now let's go to the second type of causation fallacy. Is called post hoc ergo propter hoc. I'm just gonna again, just move my video here. So please don't mind. I'm just changing this so that you can watch this properly. And yeah, I'll just put it right here in the middle. Okay. Probably here. Yeah, that makes sense. So I think that should help with the visibility. Is that any better? I think it should be better. Just okay. All right. So the part that you're not able to see, I'll explain. Don't worry about the part that you're not able to see because of my video. I'll explain that. So guys, the next type of fallacy is called post hoc ergo propter hoc. Okay. And what this actually means is, let me get a highlighter. Yeah, post hoc ergo propter hoc. Okay, that's the second type of fallacy. And the third type of fallacy, what this actually means is, just because there is an event A, let's say there is an event A that happens first, and right after the event A, you have event B taking place. This does not necessarily mean that event B is happening because of event A. Okay, people generally assume that when two events are happening one after the other, the first event must be causing the second one. The first event must be the cause of the second one, and that's why they are happening one after the other, right? And that's a causation fallacy, because there might be multiple other reasons why B might be happening right after A, the event A, right? There might be multiple other fallacies, reasons, and hence this is called a fallacy. It's called a type of fallacy of causation. Okay. Now I'll give you an example. So just look at this. Every time I forget to take my umbrella to office, it rains, and therefore rains are caused by the act of I not taking my umbrella to office. right? So this guy says here that every time I take my umbrella to office, every time I forget to take my umbrella to office, it rains. Therefore, rains are caused by the act of I not taking umbrella to office. Just because it, let's say event B is that it rains, and event A is that he forgets to take his umbrella. Just because it rains after he has forgotten to take his umbrella doesn't necessarily meaning that it is that it basically rains because he has actually forgotten to take his umbrella. Like the universe actually takes into account, okay, if that guy has it, just please check if that guy has taken his umbrella or not. Okay, he has not taken an umbrella, let's rain. It doesn't work like that, right? It doesn't work like that. So another good example could be, the reason why I have put this remotes picture here. So as you must have noticed that whenever you're many times when you're switching on the TV, the remote really, when the remote is really not responsive, the remote is not responding. What you end up doing is you start beating the remote on the back, right? Does it happen? Is it something that you've done? You guys have done? You start beating the remote at the back, okay? And after 3 or 4 beatings and maybe some I don't know, some somersaults that you do to the remote, and you click on the TV button and it starts working. Suddenly it starts working. Okay. Now guys, I want you to observe this and I want you to try this maybe sometime later. That if whenever the TV remote seems like it is not working, so instead of beating it, just imagine that you're beating it. Don't really go on and beat it. Just imagine they're doing that and keep doing everything else that you're doing, that you had been doing in the earlier case as it is. Don't change anything there. Just change the beating part. Don't really beat it. Just pretend that you're beating, and then switch on the TV, and then switch on the TV after the usual amount of time after which you usually switch on. It has to be the usual amount of time that after which that you usually take in these situations. Okay, if the TV gets switched on, that means that the event B, that event getting switched on, had nothing really to do with the event A, with basically beating the remote, right? So basically essentially saying that the remote would have probably gotten on anyways. मतलब वो तो अपने आप on होने ही वाला था. मतलब आप, you just needed to have somersaulted it a little bit and maybe just press some buttons. It was anyways gonna get on. It was anyways gonna get the TV on. But just because you also happen to have thumbed the back of the remote before it got on, now you have related the incident of the TV getting on with the incident of you tapping the remote, right? Which doesn't make sense. So that's why, so that can be a fallacy of causation. Is it clear to everyone? क्या ये सभी को clear है? Okay, ठीक है. Arman, Sakat, Rajat, Nathan, everyone. ठीक है. So let's go to the next sentence. Okay, next fallacy. Alright, the next kind of fallacy that, as you can see here, is red herring. Okay, let me again just move this. My video creates a lot of problem, right? Just let me move this, guys. I'll just put it down. Okay, I think this should work better. Now, the red herring fallacy is basically when let's suppose you and I are having an argument about something, and suddenly I end up like I sense that, okay, maybe you have a point, but I don't really like losing to someone, and hence what I do is I just introduce a topic which is very interesting for you, but is not so much related to the topic that is being discussed at hand. Okay, I just introduce to you some topic which I know that you find very interesting and you'd love to talk about it. Okay, okay, but and hence I successfully, what I essentially do is I successfully divert your attention from the topic at hand to the new salient topic that I've provided you, Okay, so that's called your red herring. Okay, so a red herring is basically just a distraction from the argument, quite often portrayed. Okay, so as a distraction in an argument. Okay, so distraction from the main argument. Okay, so that's red herring for you. Something that distracts or misleads the other to the other side away from the core issue. That's your red herring. And an example here could be, a kid says to his mother or her mother, "Mother, I want to buy that orange-colored plane." Mother, I want to buy that orange-colored plane. All right, so he wants to buy an orange-colored plane. Wonderful. Mother says, "Oh, you are quite the color. You like the color orange. Let's get quickly and let's rush quickly home to get you an orange candy. Let's rush quickly home to get you an orange candy." So, guys, you see what the mother did here, right? She just put in another salient point. She just put in another salient point, which went something like, "Okay, you like the color orange," and then she associated with the color orange the name candy, which would seem attractive to this guy, to the kid, and he might just forget about the orange colored plane, which probably would have been expensive for the mother. So that's how a red herring argument is generally employed. Okay, so you have to be careful about that. Then next that we have here is circular reasoning. Next that we have in line, it's called circular reasoning. Okay, and wait a second, I'll just have some water. So this is a kind of fallacy in which a person makes an argument, and to support his argument he makes essentially the same argument. So he has two arguments which support each other. For example, just look at this. Look at the sentence here. It says, "Why believe in God?" Look at the second one. Okay, look at the second one. Why believe in God? Because religion says so. So basically, we raised a question. Let's suppose we raised a question on God, and we asked why believe in God. So it directs us to religion because religion says so. Okay. Now we will obviously question that why. Okay, then but why do you believe in religion? Why believe in religion? Then it answers that why believe because religion is God's true word. Because religion is God's true word. So it is going back to God, right? So this is essentially, you can see how this has become a circular argument, right? आपको दिख रहा है यहाँ पे, it has become a circle. So God, if you question God, it redirects you to religion. When you question religion, it redirects you to God. Okay, so that's an example. That's a good example of circular reasoning questions. Now, the speaker. Another example could be let's just look at the second sentence. The first sentence, I mean, sorry. It is established that democracy is the best form of governance, as it is clear from the vote conducted among the masses. What do you guys think is wrong with this sentence? Sakat, you can say that. आप जो बोल रहे हो वो हो सकता है. But it is even more specific. आप जो बता रहे हो वो थोड़ा सा it's kind of more general. Circular reasoning is even more narrower than what you're saying. वो है. It satisfies the conditions that you're saying. He's lending more importance to his argument than not lending ear to the other person's argument. But it's even more narrowed in the sense that it self supports. It seems like it's giving a reason, but it is not really giving a reason. For example, look at this. It is established that democracy is the best form of governance, as it is clear from the vote conducted among the masses. What's wrong with the sentence? See, guys, what is the essence of democracy? Democracy का essence क्या होता है? Voting, right? Voting and majority and everything is the essence of democracy, correct? Okay. Now, so what they have essentially done here is they have used a democratic method to demonstrate that democracy is the best form of governance. How, if you want to prove that democracy is the best form of governance, how can you be using a method that is anyways democratic in nature? Okay, someone might just question. Okay, they wanted to make democracy the best form of governance, and hence they're using the same methods that are very important to democracy, right? Okay, so you understand how it is a circular argument, right? I hope you guys do. Okay, so guys, what we have done here in today's session is I'll just take you to the main slide. What we have done here in today's session is we have completed red herring, we have completed circular reasoning. We are still left with hasty generalizations, and we are also left with one more category, with the miscellaneous category, in which we'll be looking at 4 different types of logical reasoning errors, and that's where we will go with it. Okay, now we will start off tomorrow from the same place where we left yesterday. We are leaving it today, We'll start off tomorrow from hasty generalizations. We'll start off from here and wait a second. We'll start off tomorrow from hasty generalizations and others, and then move on to your elements of an argument, and maybe then some types of questions. Okay, so that's it, guys, from my side, and I hope you liked the session, and I hope you gained a little bit, at least a tiny bit of value from this session. If you did like it, please give it a thumbs up. Okay, and let me know if there is anything else. And that's it. Don't worry too much. No problem, no problem. Saket, I'll very quickly repeat. मैं बहुत ही जल्दी आपको repeat करके बता दे रहा हूँ. Adpopulum is argument by majority. Adpopulum is argument by majority. Basically saying that something is true just because a lot of people are saying it. Just because a lot of people are saying it, something is true just because a lot of people are saying it. That's argument by ad. That's Adpopulum for you. Okay, and ad vericundium is nothing but argument by authority. Ad vericundium is argument by authority. Okay, so basically saying that just because someone from an authoritative position, but someone with a lot of credentials is saying something, it has to be true. That's your argument ad vericundium logical fallacy. Okay, Sakit, is that all right? Clear? Okay. With that, guys, I'll take your leave, and thanks a ton for being such a wonderful and patient audience. I'll see you guys again tomorrow at the same time, 3 to 3:30 p.m. And okay, thank you, guys. Thank you, Arman. Thank you, everyone who's watching this, and have a great Sunday. Don't worry too much. You're gonna do all right in the long run. Okay, the short run as well. All right, chalo. I'll see you guys later. Thank you so much.